Right now, somewhere on this rock, a surgeon is about to open someone up with a scalpel, and that person is going to feel absolutely nothing. Zero. Not a little numb, nothing. And here's the part that should actually worry you. The doctor doing it can't fully explain why it works. No cap. This isn't a trust me bro situation. This is the actual, real, peer-reviewed state of modern medicine. You've probably had this done to you already. You counted backward from 10, hit maybe 7, and then you were just gone. No transition, no fade out. Your brain didn't experience getting sleepy. It experienced a hard cut, like someone yanked the power cable out of a console mid-game. So here's the question this video is actually asking. Where did you go? Not your body. Your body was still right there on the table. Where did the part of you that thinks and feels and cringes at old texts actually go? Buckle up, because we're about to find out your brain might be lying to you about the whole thing. This stuff is unhinged. Anesthesia isn't one single move, it's a whole conglomerate of chemical warfare tactics, and they come in 2 very different flavors. Local anesthesia. This is the just mute 1 tab version. You get a numbing shot at the dentist, your jaw goes dead, but the rest of you is fully home, fully aware, fully able to think about what you're having for lunch after. These chemicals block the signal in one specific patch of nerves and leave your actual consciousness completely untouched. Then there's general anesthesia, and this is a whole different animal. This one doesn't mute a tab, it force quits the entire operating system. It doesn't target your arm or your jaw, it goes straight for the brain itself, your actual cranium prison, and shuts the whole facility down. Your brain runs on roughly 86 billion tiny little guys called neurons, and they're constantly gossiping to each other using chemical messengers. Think of each neuron as having little doors on its surface. When enough positive charge builds up and enough doors swing open, the neuron fires. That's called an action potential, and the signal races down the line to tell the next neuron the T. That non-stop chain of firing is physically what being conscious is. It's the hum of the whole system running. General anesthesia is a full-on system intrusion. It gets into the brain and starts messing directly with your thalamus, basically the router that every single sense you have has to pass through before your brain can even process it. Mess with the router and nothing gets delivered correctly anymore. Here's where it gets genuinely creepy. A lot of general anesthetics work by sending in a molecular imposter. Let's call him Perry. Perry is built to look almost exactly like GABA, a real neurotransmitter whose entire job is to calm neurons down by letting a small, controlled amount of negative charge in. Perry doesn't do small and controlled. Perry shows up and floods the gates. The neuron panics. Too much negative charge, way too fast. And in a desperate attempt to correct itself, it slams open its emergency positive charge doors to compensate. The result is your neurons firing on and off like a glitching NPC. Less and less on, the more Perry piles up, until the system is barely limping along. Not fully off, because fully off means you're not coming back, but close enough that the lights are basically out. Here's the loop that keeps anesthesiologists up at night. How do we actually know you're unconscious? Back in the 1840s, the test was simple and extremely unscientific. If you didn't scream, you were asleep. That's it. That was the bar. But here's the problem. Not responding and not experiencing are 2 completely different things. You can be paralyzed and fully horribly aware, like in sleep paralysis, where you're frozen and mute, but absolutely still there. So scientists ran an experiment that is exactly as unsettling as it sounds. They gave a patient a lighter dose of anesthesia and put a tourniquet on one arm so the paralytic drugs couldn't reach it. Mid-surgery, doctors asked yes or no questions. The arm answered. Patients were having entire hand signal conversations while their organs were being worked on. And when they woke up, they had zero memory of any of it. So the real question isn't, were you unconscious? It might just be that you were fully there and your brain simply never hit save. Ketamine breaks the whole model. On ketamine, you're not knocked out, you're conscious but completely checked out. It doesn't stop you from responding because you can't. It stops you from responding because you genuinely do not care. Someone could be doing something objectively alarming to your body, and it just doesn't register as worth reacting to. You feel nothing, you experience the moment, and then your brain deletes the file on the way out. It's still a mystery why disconnection and memory wiping happen together like that. People assume anesthesia is just a deep sleep. It is not. Real sleep, especially REM, still has your brain wildly active, dreaming, sorting memories, running background processes. Your body even has a built-in safety switch that paralyzes your limbs so you don't act out your dreams. Anesthesia has less brain activity than that. It's not sleep. It's closer to a temporary, engineered mini-coma. Your thalamus router starts lagging so hard, it's basically timing out on every request. The bridge connecting your brain's two hemispheres starts misfiring cross signals. The continuous movie of your consciousness doesn't fade to black. It just stops being recorded, while the little guys in your head keep whispering to an audience that isn't listening anymore. Your actual brain tissue has roughly the consistency of Jell-O, which is why it floats in fluid inside your skull instead of just sitting there getting bruised. When anesthesia hits that Jell-O, it goes straight for the outer gray layer, the part packed with the neuron bodies actually doing the thinking. Spam that layer hard enough, and the brain physically cannot form the trillions of connections that knowledge and awareness are built from. For a few hours, you become quite literally a smooth brain. Fewer neurons firing, fewer connections forming, functionally zero vibes. Here's the honest, slightly uncomfortable truth. We don't actually know what consciousness is, so we can't fully explain what anesthesia is turning off. We can watch the ions move, we can track the GABA gates opening and closing, we can even measure the electromagnetic patterns your brain produces in real time. But the actual experience of being you, that's still sitting in a genuine philosophical path unknown. Are you just the sum total of billions of little guys talking to each other, full stop? Or is there something else in the mix that a chemical can simply switch off? Nobody has a clean answer. Some researchers think consciousness might just be collateral fallout from neurons doing their normal thing, meaning when the signal gets spammed hard enough, you doesn't get suppressed so much as it briefly stops existing as a coherent process at all. Science genuinely breaks down at this exact question, and that's not a knock on science, that's just where we currently are. So here's the whole thing is one breath. Anesthesia works by turning your neurons into a router that's stuck endlessly rebooting, spamming your system into either total disconnection or a manufactured mini-coma. Also, you don't have to consciously sit through the part where someone's got a scalpel in you. It is extremely useful for surgery, and extremely unsettling for anyone who thinks too hard about what you even are. You made it to the end, which means, as always, the exit fee is due. 1 subscribe. That's the toll. I'm flipping this tablet around like I'm expecting a tip on a bottle of water, and you're paying it in the form of a like. Don't, and I'm assuming your MHC molecules are incompatible with mine. And honestly, things are about to get real awkward between us. Stay wrinkly, apes. See ya.